Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Big Screen Show. My name is Victor,
I'm Alex.
and we're back bringing you guys another movie review. Life's been kind of crazy for me, at least personally. A lot of people that are involved in what makes this channel keep moving have been busy. We've been lots of busy, so we apologize for bringing you guys this one a little late, but we did feel like we need to bring this one to you regardless if we were late because it is worth the talk. So let's dive in. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, right? Like, we're kind of, I mean, I don't know about you, but I was like excited because I mean, I love the Apes trilogy, or at least like what people call Matt Reeves trilogy, even though he only did the second and third one. But you know, that trilogy I really love and I've always been a fan of. So when they announced this one and they announced that it was not a reboot, and it was a continuation of sorts, I was excited and I was more than anything curious, right? Because I was like, how do they, like, what do they do, you know? So I was like in that gray area where I'm excited, but I'm also cautious because, you know, these days they tend to bring back franchises that have been already past some time and then potentially they mess it up, right? They screw it up, and that's no fun for anybody, including us movie lovers. So I was kind of just cautious about that, but I am so happy to report I loved it. Like, I loved it. I had a great time from beginning to end watching it. I honestly think the strongest part of this movie is the script, which is like really shocking, at least for me personally, because that was unexpected. I think the script is super strong. It invokes it asks for your attention as soon as the movie starts, and I love that. I do want to shout out the cinematography and the smoothness of all the shots and just how everything was sequenced was like really noticeable, at least for me. I loved it. I mean, I have nothing but positive things to say. Truly, I really enjoyed my time in the theater. Would totally watch it again. I give this movie an 8 out of 10. Solid movie for sure. And I might add, definitely deserves to be like looked up at in equivalent of at the as the trilogy. Meaning, I don't think it's weaker. I don't think it's like the outlier. I don't think it's like, you know, like Kung Fu Panda 4, right? It's like you had the trilogy, then you add this fourth one, and it's like, oh, it's cool, but like not, you know what I mean? I don't think it's like that. I think it's definitely like worth being in that list, and all makes the entire four movies now really strong and invoking. So I do want to add that as well. But what are your general thoughts, Alex, on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
Oh yeah, I'm honestly right there with you, brother. I mean, honestly, when I first heard about this news for this movie, I'm like, oh wow, this looks like so amazing. But then I was like surprised how
Mhm.
this movie takes place, like like literally, like I won't call it a spoiler because it's been pretty advertised. But it's like takes years. It takes like about like 300 years, like later on, like past like Caesar's generation from.
Right.
And also the new cast, I'm surprised by how really well done they are, especially since like after Andy Serkis as Caesar from like the last three movies, who has done like such a phenomenal performance, carrying on as like
Amazing.
this as like this like actually this like really intelligent ape who just becomes like this well-renowned leader of the apes and everything. But
The
having
goat.
like these other this like other generation of actors coming in and just take over as these new characters that takes place in like this new generation of apes that are like
Sure.
that have like advanced like way beyond. And whilst the humans have like kind of regressed, it's like they've done like such a great phenomenal job. And I get props up to the director who really carries on like this huge continuation legacy that makes it like a very huge part of the film going forward, which I think he does
Sure.
pretty well. As you said, like it
Yeah.
goes well in hand with like the writing, but I think for me it goes well more with like how like the scope of like what the world is and how far it's changed with like and where the apes are within this certain timeline and everything, because it makes you just feel like so. And since we've seen how the movies have gone in like the past that we've seen, it just shows how much more in depth and like how far they've advanced. And I honestly think it does it so well for the future and how what and going forward and what this franchise is going to be. And honestly, huge props. Like how like I did not think the visual effects have gotten so much better compared to like what it was when Matt Reeves took over the last two films.
Oh yeah,
Okay, I mean, it like just seems so surreal, photorealistic, and just feels like it's something that could actually happen, like you've seen beforehand. Because I did not think it could go even more better than it could be. But honestly, yeah, its story is very well intricate and does more in-depth exploration of like the world that's going into. Strong presence by like this new cast who are basically carrying on this new trilogy legacy and stuff like that. But and we'll get to this more. Also, kind of gives like an interesting perspective and exploration of like what Caesar did in the past. That's kind of made its way into the future, but in a very different way that I don't think we could have actually thought of.
sure.
Yeah, so for me, I'm giving Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes an 8 out of 10. Such a solid entry and a great continuation of like this franchise that just seems to be keep going strong after so much time, especially for like this really long franchise that started back since like the '60s.
Yeah, that is true. The Apes movies have been around for quite a while. So I guess at the same time we shouldn't be surprised. I guess they brought another one because it seems like they've been bringing out new ones for over 60 years by this at this point. But yeah, brother, I couldn't agree more with you, man. I was really pleasantly surprised. I wouldn't even say surprised. I had high hopes. I was excited to see it. You know, it never looked at any given point in time like it was going to be a bad movie. I guess I just, like I said, I was weary because, you know, when you kind of try to revive something or bring something back from, uh, I don't want to say the past, but something that was not touched in a decent amount of time, it could potentially have its faults. And I'm just really happy that it came and it was strong and it's sufficient to stand at the level as the Matt Reeves trilogy is, which, yeah, anyways, that's what they say. They call it that. Why do they call it the Matt Reeves trilogy? It's not his entire trilogy. But, anyways, that's for a later point. Anyways, let's get into some spoiler territory, guys. If you don't know how things work around here, we try to bring you guys videos at least once a week. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't seen the movie yet, please click off the video. This is your spoiler warning. We're about to get into some spoiler territory. There you go. If you want a non-spoiler part of the review, there you go. There you have it. We both give it 8 out of 10. Super solid film. If you haven't seen it, go get in the theater right now and go watch it. It is super solid, especially if you're a fan of the Apes movies in general. Then this one will not disappoint you. I promise. We promise. Now, with that being said, moving on to spoiler territory. Alex, I think immediately I just want to touch on the fact that my favorite parts of the script, which by the way, I love the whole script, but one of my favorite parts, if not my favorite part of the entire script, was just how they integrated the mentioning of Caesar in such a way. Like, I love that so much. I mean, the movie, for starters, opens up with his body being burned, which is like really a touching moment. And then, you know, we move forward to where this movie actually takes place many generations later, which, like you said, was like 300 years later. And I love that his name is still around, whether for good or for bad, right? Because there was like that whole thing, but I just love that his name is still around. It gave me a, isn't it like a Jesus thing, right? Like a kind of like a religious thing. It kind of felt that way. It's like but you know what I mean? Like I don't know if you got that, but I was kind
Uh,
of getting those vibes. But I loved it because facts. He is the root. He is the reason why all these apes are now like fluent in speaking, can do all the things they do, are, you know, living the lives they live. Right? Like he is. Yeah, he is that. He's that person that paved the path, and I just love the mentioning of him consistently, especially with remind me if you remember the name of the orangutan, because I the real spiritual one with the necklace,
oh yeah, that was Raka, who I actually thought was like a spiritual
Raka.
successor to Maurice from the original trilogy.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely was giving Maurice vibes, without a doubt. Absolutely. But yeah, so Raka, like, I love that conversation he was having with Noah, explaining to him, like, who Caesar was, what he believed in, things like this. Like, I really thoroughly enjoyed those moments and any time he was named or spoken of. So that was at least for me personally, like some of the highlights in this movie, especially for with the writing. Like I thought it was genius and it worked super super well, especially with like the way you tie in like this trilogy that's already been made, and now you're trying to start from a different location. It's a great way to tie everything in because you see everything still affects everything in a way, you know. And
Mhm.
I just want to get your thoughts on that. What do you think?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's actually one of the major strong points I like about it because again,
Sure.
it all started with Caesar, like this world that became the planet of the apes. Again, Caesar
Right.
started it all, and I think also shows that even the opening with him like being burned is also like a good way of like kind of like passing the torch on to like the later generation of
Yeah.
apes. Like like as we get like the
Closing the
main.
chapter even.
Oh yeah, then we get to the main character of Noah, who's then starting to learn more about like what the world was beforehand to what it is now, and then meeting Raka, who is basically part of this other following, who basically tried to show people like again he was kind of like a religious missionary type, trying to show
Yeah,
trying to show Caesar's like true teachings and not the way his
absolutely.
teachings have kind of been like corrupted by the antagonist of the film, Proximus Caesar, who basically took Caesar's name and just kind of like twisting it and manipulating it in the way where it's not really
It
what Caesar's
benefits him.
teaching would have been.
Yeah, it really is just to benefit him. He's a phony, fake. Overthrow him.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, I mean, yeah, right. Like, I mean, that was obviously as we move on, we see that that's kind of like the villain, if you will, of this movie, and he's taking on that kind of angle about it. And so it also, as a love, at least for me, as a lover of Caesar, like I mean, I'll die for Caesar. I love Caesar. Caesar's the goat, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
me too.
and I love that trilogy. So for him to be like this fake Caesar, Proximus Caesar, and have this idea and going about this idea in his name, like it makes you mad. Like I don't know about you, but I was like, no,
Oh
like
yeah.
it can't be.
Oh yeah. He crazy.
No, this
Yeah.
cannot be. This is unacceptable. We have to overthrow him.
I
Like I was
know.
like, F all that. You know what I mean?
I know. He literally corrupted Caesar's teaching because again, this is not what Caesar would have wanted, and now that guy is basically like his own little self, his own ruling kingdom. But he ended up basically stealing like other apes, like Noah's tribe and everything like that. But
Yeah.
honestly, what I do love about this movie as well, it just kind of shows like not all the apes are like put into like this one singular like kind of single ruler thing where they've all kind of like expanded and it kind of became their own thing. Like Noah with like the Hawk tribe, and then like Raka and him doing missionary work, and then we have Proximus Caesar and his own followers who then doing it with decked out in armor and using like electric weapons the same way that humans used to do back when they were trying to like keep like the pets the apes in line in their cages from like the
Mhm.
original for the first one in
Mhm.
Rise.
Right. Right. No. Yeah. I mean, 300 years have passed, so you see the evolution of where at the time where we last left this franchise, Caesar was leading, and we had one unified tribe. All apes followed Caesar. Caesar was our leader, and we all acted as one. But we see as time has gone by, now it works more almost like humans did. Different societies, different groups, and different, call it a city, whatever. It's like the equivalent of, you know what I mean? It's like families here in a town, whereas someone could live, some people live in like California in a city and they have their own town. You know what I mean? Like it's different, and it's like the same equivalent, at least the way I look at it. It's like civilization for these apes now has changed, and I think there might be more of them now, to be honest, because so little humans are now on the planet. They have been able to live more freely since we last left them. And yeah, I mean, you part ways, they went about it in different ways. And I love, by the way, the eagle tribe. Like, geez, what a dope concept, by the way. Like, I just want to say, like, the whole like raising of the eagles and having them be a part of like your tribe, because they were truly loyal, as we see, obviously, like super loyal. And that was a really really nice touch, which at first I was like, this is weird a little. I was like, this is kind of weird, but I was like, but then I was like, it didn't take long for me to really love the idea, which was right after Noah's father had passed away, R.I.P. The eagle kept following him, and I was like, wait, like these birds are loyal. These birds know who their people are.
Yeah,
I
cause
mean,
yeah, cause
at
like
this
it
point of the
shows.
movie, the eagle was still kind of mad at him or whatever, and was still kind of messing with him and stuff. But uh, you just still see like he still knows that's someone from his home. And I love that. I love that. And by the way, I think the only predictable part of this movie was that at some as I said, at least for me, I said this to myself early in the movie. As soon as like the Eagles got involved, I was like, yeah, the Eagles are probably gonna do something near the end of the movie that's like, they did the thing.
Yeah, I would honestly be surprised if they didn't do anything with it, since that seems like be like a
Yeah,
major part of like Noah's tribe. So if they didn't take
sure,
advantage of that, I'd be like, it's kind of a waste. Because then, like, why even introduce like an eagle tribe at all? When they make such a big
right.
deal about the process, like getting an egg and making sure you have contact with it, making sure it becomes like a member of the family, extended part of you.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Sure, sure. Yeah, but I mean, although it was predictable, I think it was done very well. Even though completely saw it coming as it was coming. Like, it's fine, but that's fine. That's not a complaint. I'm just saying, usually when you have those moments in a movie, it kind of lets you down because you're like, oh, that was predictable. That was kind of lame. But in this case, it was like, that was predictable, but that was actually dope. At
Yeah,
least for
yeah.
me.
And then you got to admit, it was pretty satisfying to see the Hawks take down
Oh,
Proxima Caesar, right? Come on, you had to admit,
oh
it
yeah.
made you very
No,
happy.
that was
Like,
sick. Yeah, yeah, that was dope for sure. No doubt. Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Like I just think yeah, like you said, it's different. The world has changed and now they are it's almost like roles have swapped, if anything. Like the humans are in scarce inside, not the equivalent of cages, but they're inside,
trapped in
they're
their
not
own
out and
minds.
about. Yeah, they're not out and about. If there are humans, they're probably trapped in, a bunker or like a base or something. Like they're the ones in confined areas where now the apes are the ones roaming free all around the world, at least in the locations we were shown, which by the way, I was like so curious to find out where it was that they were. Are they still in San Francisco? Are they still in the redwoods? Like where are they? But we never found that out
Yeah, no,
necessarily.
because
So
like after like the third film, like War for the Planet of the Apes, they left from San Francisco, so it could be like pretty much like
they were
anywhere
still in
now.
California. Well, you mean right at the end? Yes, they went to a deserted. Yeah, they definitely went down south, like near Nevada, Utah, Arizona, somewhere in the desert, New Mexico. That's kind of where they moved to because it was like very desert-y. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I was curious to know where they were. You know me, I always like knowing locations. But
Yeah, you do.
um, I do want to get your thoughts on something very important, which I was also very pleasantly surprised. Let me get right now. Freya Allen, aka Nova or May, however you want to call her. Man, was she impressive to me. I did not expect this little girl to be so capturing on screen. I think they actually picked that role perfectly. I think she did a great job in her role, and I think she just had the right face. I really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, and both she does fancy. I also like what her character was in this, where like in the past you kind of had humans, whether they were going to be like they were going to be allies, like in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, or complete antagonists, like Woody Harrelson's Colonel in War for the Planet of the Apes. Although
Sure.
she's not really put within the same category. She's kind of like duplicitous, where she knows how to be quiet, like the humans who kind of like regress to be like ape like, or like kind of like during like the caveman era, as what I
Yeah.
got since like they were out in the wild. And then also,
Silent.
yeah,
Hmm.
and then also where she also shows her intelligence, so like one of the rare humans on the earth who actually still keeps their intelligence, but she plays it in like a very manipulative, duplicitous nature as a point of survival. And then when she basically meets up with these apes like Noah and them, she's still on the side of like the humans, but then she's also kind of understanding or seeing a bit where it's like not all of them are essentially ones for like conquest, like Proximus is, but ones who just kind of want to be like isolated, have their own place to be themselves. But it also kind of shows that she's still on the side of humans, where she still sees that, like, like it was the it was a planet where humans were first, but I don't think she's fully understanding, and she's still kind of still stuck with this idea that like the Earth still belongs to the humans, even though it's been over like 300 years, and at this point, it really doesn't belong to the humans anymore. I mean, even it's been said even like in the last movie, like it really does. It really is a Planet of the Apes now. Where at this point, I don't really think there's a really chance of going back anytime soon. But then I get this
Well,
feeling. I feel like there's definitely going to be like a big war coming for what we got off by the ending. But again, we're not quite sure of what side she really stands on at this point. Especially since like she has kind of she's kind of untrustworthy at this point now.
sure, sure, yeah, especially for us, the audience, because we saw what her intentions were there when she had her final conversations with Noah. Things like that. She obviously had a gun in her held behind her back and things like this, ready to go. So like she's very, and she has shown now multiple times that the trust can be lackluster, for lack of better terms. She's definitely oh, she gives me anxiety, honestly. But I like her. I just like her. I do. I think she was picked perfectly for this role. I hope she if I hope let me just say this right now. I hope there's more. And given by the ending, I think there will be more of this,
Oh yeah,
hopefully.
oh yeah. There's gonna be like a total of like this is like the fourth one. So there's a plan to have like 9 films overall. So we got like 5 more.
Oh shoot. Oh, okay. Well, if they keep the quality up, I'm so for it. But yeah, so anyway, so I really hope she is a recurring character, because I think she just intrigues me a lot. And they usually don't do recurring characters, like besides the apes. I'm talking about humans wise. Like
Yeah,
Franco, first movie, said goodbye to him. Woody Harrelson never. Like we've never really seen the humans
recurring
character
characters.
recurring character. Exactly, yeah. So I would love to see her be the first of that. But what I was gonna say is, I think for her, she's like definitely still in like humans run the world and we need to get back to doing that, and she's trying to do her part in helping humans get back to that. However, she definitely had like kind of an awakening, a journey, following along with Noah at her side, because like you said, I think it was her first time experiencing non-conquestive apes, for lack of a better term. Like she saw a bit of humans in Noah, and I love that. And the entire time I was just thinking, what would a conversation between this girl and Caesar look like? Like, oh, that's I couldn't
Yeah,
think. I was thinking about that the whole time, dude. I was like, dude, like, especially once like her true colors started coming out, because when we first meet her, we just think she's like just like this wild little girl that's like out in the wilderness without a home or whatever, trying to get food. But like, as the movie goes on and we understand a little bit more and more and more, then I started thinking like, man, like Caesar and her conversation between them, like what would that look like? Because I feel like that is who she would understand most, and that could be the moment her heart flips,
yeah,
as it was normally, because Caesar was that guy.
yeah,
Caesar was that guy. But
yeah.
these apes now don't have that like they're not at that mental level like he was. So
Or
like
that
they really,
knowledge, or even
that
that
knowledge,
knowledge.
that's what I should say. That's actually what I meant, actually, is that knowledge. They don't have that knowledge. Like Noah was actually having a hard time even imagining that humans and apes both coexisted on the planet. Like he literally was like, "There's no way," And so
Yeah,
like
and
they're just not there
yeah, I think that's
knowledge
yeah.
wise.
I think that's also what kind of makes this most interesting because think about if this movie franchise had continued on with Caesar still here, we know how it could go. But I think putting this new challenge with
Sure.
like this new generation, where like post Caesar, it just kind of created like more of this complexity and kind of trying to see if what Caesar truly believes could still happen one day. Could apes and humans coexist? Even though it seems like from what we've seen from past movies, it honestly never seems likely. Where it just kind of seems kind of like a hopeful dream that never really seems to come to fruition. Where I think the closest we got was from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, but that got ruined because of Koba. And then, after that, the humans kind of went to a more aggressive approach, like with the Colonel, with him basically hunting the apes down with their own little unit and using their own apes against them. So it just kind of seems like, I don't know if maybe this might be the generation where we could actually happen, or it's just going to continue on this trend where it's really just going to be the division between humans and apes still, where Caesar's dream, it just seems like just a dream, like it could never really happen. And I really like that
Yeah.
kind of pondering question, because it always just seems like the apes always seem like more like the better side to be that you hope for, compared to the humans who basically just choose to either go like this one way or the other. Because like, I don't know, every time I watch these Planet of the Apes movies, I'm like, with this new franchise, really, I will be like, oh yeah, I'm siding with the apes all the times, because with humans, we're
I
just
always
really
do.
we're just aggressive. Like, there's really not
Yeah.
really a chance for us to really think for a second, like, oh, we could totally talk this out and just try and like dissemble like peace or coexistence. But then it's like, no, kill them all. We're not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're animals. We were here before you. Go back, get in line. But like, no.
Yeah, yeah. Even though that's not true, humans were not here before apes, and at least in the real world scientifically. And if you ask me my personal opinion, I think they obviously can coexist, like literally, like perfectly. They just stay out of each other's way. Like it's because the other finds the other threatening. That's always been what it is.
Yeah.
That's always been what it is. Like they see the ape come up holding a gun. Now they're threatened. Now we have to go act on war to them, or vice versa. Oh, they're stepping into our woods. They have guns. We're scared. We have to act now. Like it's always been that. It's always been a sense of threat, and it's always been like it. I believe in Caesar's dream. Just basically, that's what I'm trying to say. But
I believe in Caesar.
I think I agree. Yeah, I agree, because it is actually a real interesting, complex, like kind of idea that I hope to, I guess, like you said, put to the test. It's actually really, really, really interesting. Obviously, it can't really be put to the test in this first movie, Kingdom, because we're kind of getting introduced to this
It's really
like new
it's really
setting.
setting the stage at this point. It's really setting the
Yeah,
stage.
sure. Yeah. But moving forward, I mean, dude, if they're doing 5 more movies, stuff is about to go down. Stuff is about
Yeah.
to go down.
Plus,
Yeah.
I
I mean,
think
did you see how these apes didn't even use weapons? Like the things have changed. Like weapons meaning guns, like actual human guns, like actual pistols and rifles and stuff.
yeah, it seems like that's in like rare supply. That's really like in really rare supply. So now they just kind of have to make do with using like spears, bow and arrows, or those electric prods, things like that, making their own like self armor. It's really more like
Did it
utilizing the
ever feel like
resources.
a western to you, by the way?
I think not exactly like that. Although honestly, I think the way that Proximus Caesar's men are like utilized and everything, it seems like more of kind of like an homage to like what the original Planet of the Apes movie was back in those times. Like honestly,
Mm,
if we had Wyatt here with us, he saw the very first original film. I'm pretty sure he might give some insight into that if he was here. But I feel like that's kind of what it's kind of leaning towards more of within this new trilogy that we're doing right now.
sure, sure. Well, yeah, I'm regardless, I'm still very happy with what it was. I'm very happy with what is to come, honestly. Like it's very intriguing. But I really quickly want to touch on the technical sides of this movie, because obviously making a movie like this involves a lot of it, and I just want to shout out one first Apes movie in mocap, and I think it is obvious because the quality of the capture is incredible. I mean, like literally the most realistic Apes movie we've had to date. I think personally,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
like everything. I mean, you know they did mocap for this one. I don't know if you know that. Yeah.
I actually did get that
And
vibe. It definitely seemed way more like fluid compared to how it was for like the last ones.
well, just so you know, like at this time and place where we're at right now, 2024 moving forward, you don't make a movie like this and not do mocap. Like you gotta just do it mocap. Like that's just how it goes. It's just like when they James Cameron just did Avatar. You know that was all mocap and like underwater and like all that. You just gotta do it mocap, because that's just the best way to capture these things now. And This was the first Apes movie with mocap, and I think it was incredible. Incredible. I really do. Well, actually, War could have possibly had mocap too, but I'm not sure. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that it is the quality has risen. Like it is like amazing. Like everything looks incredibly realistic. Like the climbing, the jumping, the talking, the eyes, the facial gestures are wow. Like really wow. Really. Especially with a movie where you only see like one main human and then like the little horde that got like kind of rounded up at one point, and then at the end you see like the people at the base. That was it. Like, you only see humans, very very scarce, and for it to be fully apes the whole time, it was truly truly incredible. I was super impressed by that, and I just really want to shout out the DP. The cinematography was insane, especially that fight with the gorilla and Noah at the end while he was trying to escape up while the base was like flooding.
Yeah,
That whole sequence right there, the way the camera was moving through those pipes and following everything still so perfect. I was super impressed with the camera movement there, like really really impressed. Like I don't know, I was just impressed with the technical side of this movie from beginning to end. I think it has some really fluid shots. I think the way it was presented was like super fluid, very easy to follow. Like I don't know, it's just a smooth movie, bro. Really, just a smooth film,
I
like just
actually
all
agree.
around.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And one last thing before we kind of get ready to start ending this is that I noticed how like in this one, like with each of the movies, there's kind of been like each segment has always been like an advancement of the apes, where usually again Caesar was the one who was most advanced, so he basically one that spoke the most and walked the most, like human wise. But after this
Mm-hmm.
generational jump, all the apes really are really speaking a lot more. They still keep using sign language and everything, but they do a lot more communication compared to what Caesar's tribe everything used to be back in those times.
Oh
So
yeah,
it really
way
shows
more.
how like separated and how more separated it's been compared to what during Caesar's time, which again is also a pretty huge improvement from the jump.
Yeah. I mean, even from like the first scene when they're trying to get the eggs, the eagle eggs, you already immediately like I immediately know. I was like, oh, whoa, they can talk like way more. Like
Mm-hmm.
immediately, that was like my first react. That was actually my first reaction to the film. My first reaction to the film was, "Aw, Caesar," and then it obviously goes forward. And my first reaction to the current state of where we're at, 300 years later, I was like, "Whoa, they talk a lot more. Like they have more words in their vocabulary. Like they're
Yeah,
more fluent. They're more fluent. And that's cool." At first, it kind of threw me off because it was kind of like, okay, like let's not get I mean, I know it's already unrealistic, but let's not get too unrealistic. You know what I mean? For a second, especially from where we're coming from. But as the movie progresses, you still see that they still have a lot of the tendencies that they had in the trilogy with Caesar in it, because they still use sign language, like you said. Some of their grammar is not necessarily like perfect, and they just use kind of like they kind of skip words to get the same point across. And so I like that because that's still very, we're still apes, like,
yeah,
but definitely a lot more words in the vocabulary, for sure, no doubt about that. Yeah. I really like that. I really like that. It made for a lot less subtitles in the movie, I'll tell you that.
yeah. It did.
But anything else on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
I believe that's it. I think we got everything.
Yeah. So yeah, anyways, we enjoyed this movie. Really. We really did. We're excited for what's to come. We're excited for, I guess, 5 more movies. As long as the quality keeps either staying at this level or improving, I'm all for 5 more movies, truly. So we give it 8 out of 10 from us both. 2 thumbs up. Go watch it. If you haven't seen this movie yet, what are you doing? Like, go watch it. It's literally amazing. It has everything you want. It has a little bit of action, it has a little bit of emotion, it has a little bit of character development, it has everything. Like, go watch this movie. It's awesome. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. We try to bring you guys videos at least once a week, sometimes more. But if you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure to subscribe. It really does help us out. And if you like this video, please make sure to let us know by hitting that thumbs up button down there, because again, it really does help us out. But with that being said, this was the Big Screen Show. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.